Hello, world. This is Karen, or Karen, as some of you call me. It's been about a year since I've moved to Seattle, and although I've been wanting to vlog about my entire journey, I haven't really had a chance to, and I kept making excuses. But 2023 is the year, and so today I'm going to talk about what it's like to be here for a year. For this first video, I'm going to go into the who, what, when, where, why, and how of moving to the US from Canada. And I thought that would be a great way to just do a quick introduction, and then over the course of my future videos, I can go a little bit more in depth into the experience. Let's start off with why I moved to the US in the first place. For those of you who don't know my journey too well, I finished my last semester in Singapore in December 2019. And then 2 weeks later, I started working at Microsoft Canada as a new grad, which is called an Aspire. My role as a sales operations program manager was unique because I was actually backfilling for a maternity leave role. So this meant that I had an expiration date of sorts, and I was always thinking about what my next move would be. This led me to have hundreds of conversations and coffee chats with people all around the world and across the company. And the biggest piece of advice that I got was to follow your passion and do something that you're really interested in doing, and it gives you a lot of energy. So when I reflected on all of this stuff that I was passionate about, it really came down to storytelling. Naturally, I started applying for jobs that had a lot of storytelling. This would be marketing, sales, and communications. And last summer, I was lucky enough to land a job on the customer communications team, but it was a corporate role. So this meant that I needed to relocate to our headquarters in Redmond, Washington, which is in the greater Seattle area. For me personally, I was super excited about it because I always wanted to get international experience. And so in January 2022, I packed my bags and moved across the border to the US. Now onto the who. So moving to the US was not only a big decision for me, but also for my partner, Jackie. At the time that I got my offer, we had been together for about 7 years, and he was really supportive of me because he knew how excited I was about the opportunity to work abroad and also get a job in the headquarters. At the same time, we both knew that we didn't want to do a long distance relationship because we had tried it for a few months when I moved to Toronto for my Microsoft Canada job, and that was really sucky. So basically, he started looking for jobs in the US. The timing actually worked out because he was also in the middle of job hunting at that time, so it wasn't like there was anything that was holding him back. Another good thing was that he was a software engineer and I was moving to the Seattle area, which had a lot of tech companies based there. And so there was a lot of opportunity, but it was hard to find different jobs that would sponsor his work visa. He was supposed to fly with me back in January 2022, but he caught COVID, so I actually had to fly across the border by myself. And as fate had it, you won't guess this, the moment I boarded my flight, he actually messaged me and told me that he got his job offer from Microsoft, which is super crazy now that we think about it. But Jackie has been with me throughout this entire journey, and this was also the first time that we had lived together, but I will save all those stories for another video. What was the experience like? If I had to describe the past year in one word, it would be unexpected. As a born and raised Canadian, I always thought that Canada and the US were pretty similar and that moving across the border shouldn't be that hard. But I was so wrong, and it was actually such a struggle. I actually found myself quite shook a few times in the past year. I think it made me realize also how much I take for granted as a Canadian, because when I moved to the US, I felt like I was a second-class citizen starting from scratch. I had to apply for a social security number, which was a nightmare process in itself. I also had no credit score. Even though it was excellent back home, it didn't mean anything over here across the border. And basically, I couldn't even get like a 1% cashback credit card. Like, I would get rejected. I also had to get my driver's license all over again, which meant taking the written exam and passing the road test. And then there was just a lot of like other little things that I had to get used to over the past year. 1 year later, I would say that I finally feel settled, and I am very grateful for the experience because I learned a lot about myself and about the process and about our relationship. But of course, I still miss my friends and family back home. I will also say that I definitely feel super privileged. Like, even though I went through all of these struggles, like, I'm still a Canadian citizen, and my hometown is literally like an hour-and-a-half flight away. I honestly empathize with so many other people who come from a lot further and have to go through a way more complicated process to move to the US. Honestly, I think I don't really have much to complain about at the end of the day. It's just a learning experience for all of us. How did Microsoft support me throughout the relocation experience? First thing Microsoft did was take care of all the visa and immigration paperwork, which was a huge process on its own, and I don't know how many pages of documents I looked through to get through that. And also, when I got the job offer, I was given the option to choose between a relocation package or a lump sum payment to help me with the move. Ultimately, I chose the relocation package because I felt like I needed a lot of that logistical support with moving to a brand new country on my own. And so this included moving my physical belongings from my place back in Toronto over to Seattle, finding temporary housing, and getting a rental car for the first couple of months, along with other things. If I reflect on this, 10 out of 10, I would choose it again because it was such a great help for me since I really had no idea like what it was like moving across the border to another country. And so I can definitely share more details in a future video if y'all are interested. So make sure you leave a comment below. When did everything take place? So from the time I applied for the job to setting foot on American soil, I'd say that took about 6 months. I think I applied for the job back in July, and then I had my interview within a few days or a couple weeks. And then the most painful part was the waiting after the interviews and trying to hear back, because I don't think I heard back until like September. And the recruiter told me that my job offer actually took a lot longer because I was an international hire, and so they had to evaluate all the logistical stuff. Once I signed the offer in September, we started the immigration visa application process right away, and the paperwork was ready by December. So this meant that I could fly. But I chose to move in the new year in January 2022 after the holidays. This timeline is based on my own personal experience, and it differs for everybody depending on their country of citizenship, the team they're on, and of course, the ever-famous HR backlog. So keep this in mind. So where did we move? For those of you who are not from the greater Seattle area, it's actually divided up into 2 sides, and it's separated by Lake Washington. So you have the west side, which is where Seattle proper, or the actual city of Seattle, is. And then you have the east side, which is a little bit more suburban, and it's also where the main Microsoft campus is. In the beginning, Jackie and I were like, we are for sure gonna live in Seattle proper because we wanna be where all the action is, and we wanna have that urban lifestyle that we've always dreamt about. But then we started apartment hunting, and then we realized that the west side was actually a little bit dirty. It felt unsafe. Basically, it was not the vibe that we were interested in. So then we were like, maybe not. And for context, both of us grew up in Calgary, which is one of the cleanest and safest cities in the world. So that's why we were kind of shook when we went into Seattle and scoped it out. Ultimately, we decided to live on the east side, which reminded us a little bit more of home, and it was a lot closer to work. A year later, I would say it was a good decision because it was close to work, and Jackie goes into the office almost every day, and I go in about twice a week. I will also admit it is a struggle when we want to go into the city and eat good food because the traffic is atrocious. But I do feel like living in the city could be a lot of fun, and a lot of my friends who live in the city really enjoy it. And we do have a car at the end of the day, which is a Mazda CX-5 that we really love. And so overall, it's not so bad. This brings us to the end of the video where I shared the who, what, when, where, why, and how of moving to the US. So hopefully you enjoyed learning a little bit about what the experience has been like so far, and please like, comment, and subscribe, all those things that support the YouTube algorithm so that the YouTube gods can bless me with more views and all that stuff. But anyways, Stay tuned for more. I am hoping to make more effort in the YouTube space and tell you a little bit more about what it's like. And of course, share my tips, my advice, and my learnings as well. So have a great day and a great week ahead. See you.